Be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Incompetence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued by the Biden administration.
I think everyone understands that.
And Obama.
Yes.
Both of them.
Okay, but Biden much worse, not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways.
Instead of Roger Stone and WikiLeaks, it's Rudy Giuliani and some computer guy in Delaware. So this didn't work, so he'll try another planted story or another, Russian, use some other, discredited Russian propaganda. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living on television.
All right, guys, big things are happening. America is back, and we are winning again. The tides are turning, the woke agenda is collapsing, and the mainstream media is crumbling under its own propaganda. From President Trump dismantling the radical left's narrative to elites, talking heads, jumping ship. This is the proof that America First movement is stronger than ever. If we want to make the world great, it starts with making America great again. So buckle up, grab your popcorn, and let's dive into these incredible wins.
Trump supporters on Florida's West Coast celebrating after President Trump renames the body of water the Gulf of America. Douglas Kennedy is live on his trip to the Sunshine State. And what'd they tell you, Douglas?
Yeah, Bill, naming something has always had a lot of significance, but renaming something may have even more. So this is America, and you believe what is America should be called America.
Yes, America is first, and we need to know it's first.
In 2020, then Republican state chair for Sarasota, Florida, Terry Angley, successfully forced a local name change from Republican Party to the America First Party. She's now one of many Gulf state residents applauding another America First name change.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
One name existed for almost 2 centuries, the other for almost 4 centuries. Why change them, and why change them now?
Well, we change it now because we have the support to do it. We have a president in the White House, President Trump, who is leading us, who is supporting us to make America first.
It's a move that's been met with skepticism from the president of Mexico and derision from late-night comics.
Yeah, we have been so concerned about all the scary things that Trump's going to do. We forgot he's also going to do some really stupid things.
But this man sees history repeating itself, with nation after nation trying to declare Gulf dominance. So the Spanish controlled this sand, the French were here, the English were here, and then the Americans controlled it.
That's right. Whoever controlled the Gulf got free access to the major trade route in the heart of North America, which was the Mississippi River.
Jack Davis wrote a Gulf history. He says control of Gulf sand and water has also been at the heart of some of our country's most pivotal events, including Thomas Jefferson's Louisiana Purchase in 1803 and Colonel Andrew Jackson's victories during the War of 1812. And maybe not so ironically, nationalism has often been at play in Gulf politics.
That's exactly right, but unfortunately, nationalism has had some significant ecological costs. We've turned the Gulf into a giant oil field. We've overdeveloped this coast.
Angley says history is history, and what matters now is sending a message to the future.
It's showing our children and our grandchildren who we are, who we were, who we've always been, and who we're going to continue to be. America first. And we need to be first.
This is exactly the kind of bold thinking we need in America today. Rebranding the Republican Party to the America First Party makes perfect sense because, let's be real, that's what it should have always been about. It's time for a new beginning where our policies put Americans first instead of catering to globalist interests. This is how we send a message to the world. The United States is no longer for sale, and we will not be taken advantage of anymore. And speaking of reclaiming what's ours, The idea of renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America is pure genius. Think about it. The body of water borders North, Central, and South America, making it a part of the Americas, not just Mexico. It's time to start taking back our national identity and standing firm in our sovereignty. Every little step we take in this direction sends a powerful signal that America is reclaiming its strength, pride, and leadership. But the real game changer, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, stepping in to clean house in the military. We've seen how woke policies have weakened our armed forces, turning them into a social experiment instead of an elite fighting force. That ends now. Hegseth is bringing back discipline, military readiness, and a focus on national security. The days of pandering to radical ideology are over. America is done looking weak, and we're ready to take charge once again. This is a turning point, and the best is yet to come.
President Trump intends to make the Pentagon hyper-focused on America's ability to fight on the battlefield, with the new defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, in charge, of course. Senator Tom Cotton, an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran, has grilled military leaders about the detrimental nature of going woke in terms of the readiness of the United States military. We'll speak with him in just a moment. But first, senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy. Hi, Peter.
Martha, good afternoon. President Trump does not think that transgender people are mentally or physically stable enough to serve in the U.S. Armed Forces. And this executive order, first reported by the New York Post today, that is going to be signed any minute, makes the case that transition surgeries require recovery and narcotics that could affect somebody's readiness for up to a year.
There are more executive orders coming that we fully support on removing DEI inside the Pentagon, reinstating troops who were pushed out because of COVID mandates, Iron Dome for America. This is happening quickly. And as the Secretary of Defense, it's an honor to salute smartly.
The very first thing Secretary Hegseth posted to social media after photos of his actual swearing in was this photo, and it had the caption, DOD does not equal DEI. No exceptions, name changes, or delays. Those who do not comply will no longer work here. And that's an attempt to stop managers at federal agencies from reassigning DEI specialists to other offices within the government. And it's all stuff Donald Trump said he would do.
He's sort of made these promises. He's keeping those promises, and the American people, I think, broadly support this. And so I think the Democrats would be wise to be a little bit more cooperative.
The new Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth mentioned there something about the American Iron Dome. We expect that to be part of one of President Trump's executive orders today or tomorrow. It comes as adversaries experiment with hypersonic technology, and as President Trump is promising to let us all know what was going on with those drones over New Jersey.
Instead of Roger Stone and WikiLeaks, it's Rudy Giuliani and some computer guy in Delaware. So this didn't work, so he'll try another planted story or another, Russian, use some other, discredited Russian propaganda. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living on television.
Oh boy. It gets even better. The decline of mainstream media continues as yet another propagandist jumps ship. This time it's NBC's Chuck Todd, who follows the path of Jim Acosta, both unable to keep their biases in check. Acosta's emotional meltdowns over Trump policies led to his demotion at CNN, and now Todd's departure seems to follow the same pattern. His recent outrage over NBC hiring Ronna McDaniel exposes the real issue. These so-called journalists don't want diversity of thought. They want complete ideological control. Let's take a look at some of Todd's biggest on-air breakdowns and see exactly why the mainstream media is grumbling.
The elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation, because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. Well, I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. So she has credibility issues that she still has to deal with.
Yeah.
Is she speaking for herself, or is she speaking on behalf of who's paying her? Once at the RNC, she did say that, hey, I'm speaking for the party. I get that. That's part of the job. So what about here? I will say this. I think your interview did a good job of exposing, I think, many of the contradictions. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this, because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination. So it is, that's where you begin here. And so when NBC made the decision to give her NBC News' credibility, you got to ask yourself, what does she bring NBC News?
This gets at something, Dean, that my executive producer likes to say is, hey, voters want to be lied to sometimes. They don't always love being told hard truths. I'm a journalist. I have to deal in facts. I deal in facts.
There's a lot of scientific research out there that says gender is a spectrum.
Was it a decades-long assault on science and objective facts, particularly by some on the right?
Are you confident that you know that gender is as binary as you're describing it?
You have one party that has decided that the Second Amendment is almost a religious tenet.
If you're upset about extra IRS agents, stop cheating on your taxes, Congressman.
A lot of Republicans in the last 3 weeks have suddenly found themselves deciding, hey, party over country. Republicans try to keep focus on a border emergency. In some ways, they've sabotaged our immigration policy, and this is why we're here. Mark Bray, you are writing this book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. Fascism has only been defeated with violence, right? I assume that's the argument you'd make. Joe Biden believes he's eternally optimistic. He's not cynical. He is the better angel president. There really is a lot of people who believe this is a rigged court. Where Republicans are abuzz with cultural warfare, Trump-style grievances, and really passing laws to deal with mythological problems, meaning they don't exist. They were just created in prime time on propaganda cable TV. There is no editorial point of view here on any of these newscasts on MSNBC in the daytime.
We shouldn't have accepted the premise that there was liberal bias. Our bias is facts. I hear the attacks on fact checkers where they fact check Republicans 6 times more than they fact check Democrats. Yeah, perhaps the Republicans are being factually incorrect more often.
Who would have thought, right? A guy like Chuck Todd, who spent years openly criticizing his own network, would eventually have to pack his bags. But let's be honest. He didn't quit because he wanted to. He quit because he had no choice. His contract was coming to an end, his ratings were in the gutter, and NBC wasn't about to renew it. So to save face, he jumped ship before they could push him overboard. And this is all happening under MSNBC's new chief executive, Mark Lazarus, who is now desperately trying to tone down the network's extreme anti-Trump rhetoric. But it's too late. The damage is done, and the mainstream media is falling apart. Meanwhile, over at Fox News, it's a completely different story. They're dominating cable news, pulling in over 70% of primetime audience and nearly 50% of total cable news viewership. CNN and MSNBC are sinking like the Titanic, with double-digit drops in ratings that have brought them to their knees. Why? Because their so-called journalists aren't journalists at all. They're activists too blinded by Trump derangement syndrome to see that their networks are crumbling around them. While they keep pushing their woke agenda, Fox News is thriving because they're giving viewers what they actually want, real news and not propaganda. So what's next for CNN and MSNBC? A total rebrand? A desperate attempt to claw back credibility? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, they better figure it out fast, or they'll be the next ones out the door, just like Chuck Todd. What do you guys think? Drop a comment below, smash that like button, and share this video to help us hit our goal of 200 subs. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.